And the figures show that the 400 top taxpayers in the United States, who earned an average of almost $230 million apiece, were paying 21% in a combined payroll tax and income tax, which is well below what all the people in my office pay.
All right. Warren Buffett earlier today speaking to Liz Clayman, essentially correcting President Obama, who's been using Buffett to tout his plan of taxing those who make more than $200,000 a year. The president saying that would pay for his jobs bill. And you know what? Reduce the deficit, too. But will taxing the rich really help create jobs? Let's ask someone who fits into that category. He's investor, entrepreneur, and chairman and founder of the Roberts Companies. He's Michael Roberts. He's also the author of Action Has No Season. So, sir, will the Buffett tax create jobs?
Well, the concept of jobs in this country will be played largely in the field of how government will spend the money in order to create opportunities. As an entrepreneur, my brother and I started several companies in the greater St. Louis area and around the country. We own about 12 hotels, 4 TV stations, and some shopping centers. And we're job creators. We came from basically North St. Louis. We had a good education. Our parents worked hard to get us there. Now, what creates jobs, what creates opportunities is having the entrepreneur chase that opportunity. Now, government plays a major role. For those who are very wealthy, they're actually big spenders of government money. What do I mean? You know, they fly in planes commercially. The FAA is a government facility that makes it safe. Globally, the military is around the world protecting the earth so that the United States, so that we can find ourselves able to invest in other countries as well as in the stock market. So tax dollars are being used, but too often people forget that the reality of growth comes in large measure from the infrastructure that's being built within our cities.
All right. Sir, Mr. Roberts, the other question, too, is should we be, overhauling the entire U.S. tax system just because of an anecdote from Warren Buffett that he pays more than his secretary that we really can't fact check because we don't have his tax returns?
Well, the 400 or so people that he's referring to probably should pay more taxes. That means we should evaluate the loopholes that they're currently using. And by the way, as he said in his story, most of those folks are people who have made the money on money. They've already made it.
All right,
they're not necessarily job creators.
Mr. Roberts, I understand what you're saying, that, tax the 400 top earners because they are earning a lot and they have a prosperous way of life. And, people in this country, some folks out there may feel that, hey, this is a fair way to go. But isn't the issue that if you tax those 400, you maybe would pay for the government for a month or so, and the real issue is spending? That why should we be raising anybody's taxes when the issue is that government has been recklessly spending and the interest costs on that spending is going up, and S&P is threatening to downgrade us further into AA because of that spending? You can tax all you want, but it's the other side of the balance sheet that's the real issue, no?
Well, as I indicated, if we're going to create jobs, if that's our bottom line, we have to create opportunities. I mean, Vanderbilt didn't make his money until the government built highways. Ford and other automobile manufacturers weren't successful until the government built highways. I'm sorry, when the government built railroads for Vanderbilt and others. I mean, GE didn't make toasters for rural America until it was electrified with TVA. So I think that what we have to look at is how we're going to create economic clusters, regional clusters, to allow for innovation and entrepreneurs to come together and build within communities. If you look at a city like Detroit, Detroit grew as a result of a clustering of a business concept. I think that what you're talking about reckless spending. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think what we have to do is focus. We have to focus on
hang on a second, sir. Solyndra has an empty plant right now, a glitzy plant that it didn't need to build. We just had a congressman on earlier, and we've had representatives from California who say there were plenty of empty warehouses, very nice buildings that Solyndra could have used. Why use taxpayer money to build new property, more real estate, more buildings, when you had existing properties out there, and that money was not being used to go toward jobs? I hear what you're saying, but the reality is, boots on the ground, that money isn't being used properly, right?
Well, you're isolating one particular event, and that's it's a fair argument. But I reject the concept that building infrastructure throughout the United States won't be helpful. We have to evaluate how are we going to bring a higher electorate, how are we going to educate our folks. Now, let me just make this one point.
Okay,
we
quickly.
talk about unemployment being at 14%, but if you really evaluate that, for those with a college degree that are unemployed, it's only about 4.3%. Those without the college degrees are more like around 14%. So that blended 8 or 9% unemployment tells us one important thing, and that is that we have to be about better education for our community and our country.
All right. Investor, entrepreneur, and chairman and founder of the Roberts Companies, Michael Roberts, so good to be with you. Thank you so much for your time, sir. Really appreciate it.
Unsettling news today. So one way to gauge the health of our uncertain economy and markets is to check in on one of the biggest industries, travel. Privately held Carlson is one of the world's leading hotel companies. Its Country Inn & Suites brand has nearly 500 locations and plans to add another 250 more over the next 4 years. Steve Mock is Executive Vice President and COO of Carlson Hotels Midscale Brands. Welcome to you. Tell me first thing, are people traveling more or less these days?
People are traveling more these days. The last number of years have really shown an uptick in overall travel, and within the leisure space, especially, we've been noticing the American consumer wants to get out for a holiday, and no matter what the economy is, people want a good value, but they're still getting out and taking that family trip. Across the business side, we also see business travelers, companies realize that people need to be face-to-face to make sales, and that business travel has also been on the uptick over the last several years.
But as you said, as we've been reporting, it is a tough economy, and boy, you're in a competitive environment there. So what are you doing to lure both your leisure and your business travelers? What's special about your Country Inns?
It's really all about value. What the consumer wants is a great value for money paid, especially in this economy. And so for Country Inns & Suites brand, we've really focused in on a couple of key areas. One, I'll start out with the breakfast. We make sure that we have a free hot breakfast within the brand. And we make sure that consumers, when they come in, they get a really robust experience there. So give you examples. We've all been in hotels where you've had the same thing day after day in the meal. We make sure that rotates, so there's a different item that you get all week long. There's additional things like a yogurt parfait that the guest can make, so they can tailor it to what they might want to have. There's items that would be more or less healthy items that someone could have, or they could have a more heavy carbohydrate breakfast and have waffles and those types of things. So we make sure that we have lots of different choices. Guest wants high-speed internet that works. They want high-speed internet that's free and that's available when they come into the hotel, because we all have our mobile devices and whatnot that we need to stay connected when we're in the property. So it's got to be easy for you to work when you're in the property. And then for more value, guests want a great loyalty program. And at Carlson Hotels, we have a program called Club Carlson that we have taken basically to the top of the value parameter for a guest. So a guest can earn free stays and other really valuable things by staying in our hotels. So they can have a great place to work, a comfortable place to stay, and they get a lot of value for their time there with respect to the reward points and things that they can earn in that way.
Steve, sorry to interrupt you. I just want to give you one more question here. Pertinent to the news of the day, we're watching the airline industry get crushed, transports as a whole really struggling. Are you gearing up, making preparations for challenges here in the future, or do you think the worst is behind us?
Well, I think what we see in the overall economy is a lot of uncertainty. I mean, obviously, the U.S. economy and North American economy is really tied into what's going on globally. So what we see is travelers wanting more and more value. And so what we're doing within our business is making sure that every single day we're delivering, the highest value for the dollar paid by the guest. We really see that as the way to stay strong, no matter what comes in the economy. Just keep delivering to the consumer what they want every single day, and you tend to rise to the top during very difficult times. And that's served us well in the past. We think it'll serve us well into the future.
Okay, best of luck to you. Steve Mock, thanks for your time. basis points. And with that, Chris, I'll send it your way.
All right, thank you, Lori. Well, the engine of economic growth in America may be making a little bit of a comeback here. A report out today by PayNet and Thomson Reuters shows more small businesses are borrowing money. Here with the details from Chicago and a Fox Business exclusive is William Phelan, president and co-founder of PayNet. All right, William, your small business lending index, it came out today. What does it tell us?
Well, what we can see is we've reached a milestone for small businesses, and they really are poised to help keep the U.S. out of a double-dip recession. As you know, as you mentioned, or as you may or may not know, we track about $840 billion worth of small business investments. We track that every month. So this is a real-time look into pretty much the heartbeat of the small business economy. And what we see is that the index jumped to 99.7 last month. That's a pretty good double-digit increase over last year. And it really, I guess the really surprising thing is it shows a lot of acceleration in the amount of investment going on by millions of these small businesses. And that acceleration, I think, is interesting, or it's really important when you look at the historical context of this number.
So a lot of these small businesses are borrowing money. They're investing it in PP&E, property, plant, and equipment, but not human resources, or at least not at this point in time?
Well, you know, you're right. It's investment in property, plant, and equipment, and these are key investments for millions of small companies. These are companies that are growing their